Mr. Raju. So welcome everybody. So happy that you can join us. And today, excited to be introducing Raju. Raju and I have had a professional working relationship. I don't know, maybe about a little over a year, give or take. And he's also doing some work with us as well. He's the founder of Rethink Lab, a digital product agency that helps businesses turn ideas into impactful products. He has over 18 years of experience in product strategy and management. He's worked with startups as well as enterprises to simplify decision making and focuses on what truly matters. Today, he's going to be sharing practical frameworks to help you confidently prioritize ideas and make smarter business decisions. I have been in Raju's workshop and I highly recommend it. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to invite him to give this webinar today. Let's give him a warm welcome.
All right. Thanks, Nui, for the introduction. I think again, it's same thing what New has said, but just to give a quick introduction about me, I think I have around 18 plus years of experience just in tech industry. I transitioned from being a web developer, Scrum Master, product manager, and product head of product in Central. Again, in my journey, I think it has been quite I would say transitioning, because I have learned a different kind of roles at different levels and different roles that I've played in my life. And after all the experience that I had, I think last year, I think almost 1.5 years ago, I decided to leave a well-settled job in Central and decided to start my own agency because we wanted to support startup. Because what we notice is that most of them struggle because they just keep on working on multiple ideas. They work on too many ideas and then end up wasting too much time. And then by the end, when they want to launch the product, they just struggle a lot. So that's what I think our goal is with Rethink Lab. And that's what we'll be doing in the future. All right. So yeah, please let's go to the next slides. So the reason why we are here today is to see how we can prioritize, so many ideas that we have. And the biggest challenge that we always have when it comes to all these ideas is one is that we have too many ideas. There are very every single day you will have multiple ideas. You will keep on thinking of things that is going to make more impact for you. But what happens is that you also have resource constraint, right? You always have limited by time, budget, as well as the team capacity, and you can only sometimes do only one task at a time. So that's why I think these two are the biggest challenge that we face. And then obviously the last one is going to be the fearing of missing out. So you always are thinking about your competitors, your different, people that are going to be doing the same thing. And you always think that, okay, I might miss out on something. That's what basically we always try to work on multiple tasks at the same time. So the goal for us, again, is the same thing, is to figure out how can we optimize this and then prioritize in a much better way. Next slides. Yep. So the goal, again, we're going to only have three main goals for this webinar. I think the main thing is going to be to understand how to prioritize. And once we prioritize everything, we should be able to build a clear path, like a roadmap for you guys, and then focus on ideas that is actually really the most important one, and not just random, thoughts or someone deciding based on their gut feeling. And then last, your idea should always be aligned with your business and the user needs, right? You can't be just deciding on what you want to do it. You also have to make sure that justify basically that the idea basically is aligned with your business goals as well as user needs. Because if you have one or thing that you're focusing on, if you just focus on user need, then you will not probably be able to make money. And if you just focus on business goals, your user might just run away. So the goal again is to understand all these criteria and then figure out what is the best way moving forward. All right. Next slides. So we will be focusing on 4 different frameworks that we use a lot in our company when we work with startups, when we work with corporates. So these are the 4, I would say, most important framework that you can also implement on your side, because it's not very focused just on corporates. It can also be implemented on your day-to-day life purposes. So I'm gonna just go through all these 4 main, I would say, framework that I use personally in my own company. So the first one is going to be impact versus effort. We'll basically understand how exactly your ideas is weighed against your impact as well as effort. The other one is going to be the weighted scoring. This is again, I'll explain more into details when we go into the slides. RISE framework, it's something that I personally use a lot in corporates. When I was working in Central, we were always focused on like making sure that we are working on the right ideas. So RISE framework is something that helped us a lot to understand like what is should be the main ideas that we should be focusing on today. Sorry, like this quarter, and then what's going to be something that we should be focusing on the next quarter. And then last is going to be Moscow method. It's again, it's a very simple, very nice, I would say, a framework that we also use. But this is usually used for startups when they come up with like multiple ideas, and then each ideas then have multiple tasks that we have to do. So in order for us to not focus on all the tasks, we then work with them and use Moscow method to basically understand what is a must have, what is a could have, what is a should have. Again, I'll explain more in details in the next slides. Next one. All right, perfect. So let's go with the first framework that actually you should be using in most of your startups. It's called impact versus effort. So what we usually do is that when you have a lot of ideas, the best way to prioritize your ideas would be to understand like how much value does that the idea brings for you, or what is the impact of that particular idea in terms of revenue, in terms of user impact. You basically have to like guess that work. And what I usually prefer is always rate them from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. So if an idea is going to be giving you a lot of high value in terms of impact, you basically then mark it as 10. And if you feel from 1 to 10 scale, it is up somewhere between 5, you can also do that, right? And then you also then have to add the effort level for that particular idea, whether it's going to be, again, same scale, 1 to 10, whether it's going to be super high or whether it's going to be in between or whether it's going to be very low, right? Once you basically start assuming that you have 10 ideas and you start basically figuring out whether it's going to be high impact or low effort, you will then start seeing that on your 4 quadrants on the right side, as an example that you see, you will basically start putting them across your different quadrants, right? So like if you have a high impact and if you have a low effort, that basically goes into your quick wins quadrants, right? So like this basically gives you to know that what is the idea that you can focus on right now, very immediately, that will basically help you bring high impact on your business. And then if you have high impact and high effort, these would what we call our big bets, right? Because again, they are bigger projects. They are going to be bringing more value, but they are also going to take more time, right? So you can basically then put them in your right side corner, which is major projects. And assuming that if you have a low impact and a very low effort, these are something which we can consider as more like a fillers, right? Which is more like a nice to have. You probably don't need this at the moment, and you will probably not even need that during the MVP part that you're going to be doing right now, right? And if it is a low impact and high effort, then obviously it's a waste of time, and you should just skip that completely from your ideas. So again, the goal would be to always like list on all your ideas first, and then prioritize them, or like sort them out in a way to just like guess whether it's high impact and high effort or whether it's low impact or low effort, right? So that will basically give you a very clear idea in terms of like what task that you should be focusing on. And if you start saying like most of your ideas are in quick wins, which is good because then you can then start taking those tasks and then getting those done first. And then if something are there in major projects, then again, you just focus on them once the quick wins are done, and then fill in only when you need to do. And then if it's, the last one, which is low impact, high effort, you just skip it, right? Maybe it's not important right now. In the future, maybe it might be easier. But at the moment, it's not necessary, right? Because you have to focus on what is your first thing that you need to be focusing on. All right. Next one. Second one. Yeah. So weighted scoring is another good framework that you should be using in your business. So assuming that even in those quick wins, right, you may have like some ideas, like in the quick wins, you may have 5 ideas in the quick wins, right? And then it becomes again difficult, like, hey, like which one I should be focusing on first, right? So what you can add on after that is that you can either go with weighted scoring or you can either go with RISE scoring. I mean, again, I'll explain that in the next slide. But weighted scoring is something that what you do is that you define your criteria against which you want to prioritize the ideas, right? So if you see in the right side of the corner, I mean, again, they are just like figuring out using user experience, increase monthly recurring revenue, low cost and risk, right? And again, weighted scoring is very free. There is no particular defined criteria. So you can choose whatever you feel your business needs at the moment and define those criteria first rather than just like changing them again and again, right? Just like stick with one criteria that I'm going to have these 5 or 4 criteria that I will be justifying all my ideas against, and then add that in your list, right? And again, same thing in the example that I'm doing right now is that we are using value, urgency, and effort as a criteria, but you can choose whatever you want, right? Because that's what weighted scorecard is. You can decide you can define your own criteria and then list those ideas against those, right? And again, if you see, there is always a weightage that is given. So like you can say that your user experience will have more weightage versus your risk, right? So depending on that, you should be able to get a very summarized idea. And then based on the right side, if you see like a new onboarding flow is the number one idea that you should be focusing on. Referral program would be next, and personalization would be last, right? So once you have all those ideas listed down in quick wins, then you can prioritize them also by added using weighted score, and that will give you a much better idea, right? So an example would be like, again, launching a referral versus running a Facebook ad. Obviously, like launching a referral program will bring in you more users, and your effort would be much less versus running a Facebook ads. All right, next thing. All right, so let's understand what is RICE framework. So again, it is very similar to what we call as weighted scorecard, RICE framework, but then has a defined criteria that you have to like adjust your ideas against, right? One is going to be reach, the impact, the confidence, and the effort, right? Because again, with weighted score, you do have like anyone can come in and then put in, any of your columns or like criteria. Sometimes I've seen people also add, strategic, scoring, right? So just so that you can please your CEOs, and then you can add whatever the CEO wants as the highest criteria, right? But with RICE framework, what happens is that biasness is gone because you now only have like 4 criteria to choose from. One is the reach, how many of the people this idea will be reaching. So assuming if you are launching a, 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 a woman landing page, right? And if you have like 50% of your website user are women, so your reach would be like 50% of your traffic, right? And then what is the impact that this is going to create, right? So impact would be how valuable this is, right? Whether it's going to be a low impact, whether it's going to be high impact. And when we say impact, it's more about what is the value in terms of sales, in terms of traffic. That's basically what you will be using impact as for, right? And what is the confidence, right? So what is your team feeling in terms of when we launch this product? What is the confidence? Whether it's going to be 100%, whether it's going to be 50%, whether you're not sure, whether it's super low, right? Because that will basically help you rank and then change your score. And then if it's very low confidence, then obviously it's going to go down, right? If it's super high confidence, then it's going to be on top of your list, right? And the last one is obviously is going to be the effort. Usually what we also try to do is that, again, same thing, we don't try to scale it against like what is the man days in terms of like how much time it's going to take. Always try to figure out using like, a very relative scoring, like 1 to 10, because then that helps you get more, better in terms of scoring, because or else you will need to dive in more and then get more data. A reach, I think I would say that always try to get more data. If not, if you don't have the data, if you're a big company, obviously you're going to have a lot of data to support that. But if you are a very small company and you don't have that Google Analytics or any sort of data with you, then just stick with basic, 1 to 10 scale, and then figure out like do a best guesstimate. Because in the end, the focus is to see what's going to be ranking first and what is the first task that I should be focusing on, right? And then again, same thing. An example again is going to be if you want to implement a new payment method, where exactly will that be in your thing, right? So in this case, again, the reach and impact is high, but the effort is low, because now you always have all these payment gateway that it's very easy to integrate on a system. So you will be prioritizing that on top of other ideas, right? Like creating a gamification system, right? Even though gamification also probably have some tools available, but that's not going to create impact immediate value to your users versus the payment gateway, right? So that's how you are able to prioritize using RICE framework. And then last, let's go to the next slide. Perfect. And then once you already have all your ideas defined, so now first we went with impact versus effort framework. This is where we were able to figure out what is our quick wins, what is our big bets, what is a nice to have, and what is something that we should be completely ignoring. And then with your weighted scoring and RISE framework, you should be able to define what is the first thing that I should be focusing on, assuming that you're now only focusing on the quick wins and not all the other stuff that you're trying to do, right? Then we have the Moscow framework, which is must have, should have, could have, and won't have. So again, this is like very clearly defined in terms of like what we are trying to do. Again, it's if you see this, it's clearly similar to what we see as your impact versus a value effort. But over here, it is based on your gut feeling, right? Whether it's essential to the feature, right? So you will be basically be the one like defining like whether it's a must have. And again, always have a like a criteria, like you have limited budget and limited timeline, right? If that is a criteria, what is the features that you see in the list is really a must have, should have, could have, or won't have, right? So again, must have would be your essential features like checkout system. Should have would be an important but not urgent. So this is your what we call as big bets. It's going to be customer reviews. Could have again is a nice to have features that is not very critical, like dark mode on your platform that you'll be building. And then won't have would be AI chatbot, right? Again, at the moment, that's something that maybe it's not very essential for your business, but you can do it later on, right? Because again, the criteria that we are choosing is limited time and limited budget, right? And then last again, this mostly is used by most of the startup when they're trying to define what features they should be working on. And that basically helps them to define it much more clearly. All right. Next one. So again, how do we apply these frameworks? So I think I've already like explained in terms of like how do we apply when we work with startups. So first is we always list on all the ideas. And again, when we say all the ideas, it has to be all the ideas, right? You don't have to be very limited in terms of like ideas. Whatever ideas that you have, just list them down. And then again, you can still categorize them under different categories, like it's going to be for marketing, it's going to be for sales, it's going to be for product development, or whatever criteria that you want to decide. And then list on all the ideas in all those categories, right? And then once you have all those ideas, the first thing that you should always try to do is do a best guesstimate exercise, which is the impact versus effort, right? And then scale it from 1 to 10 for both impact and effort, and then understand like what's going to be creating the most value to you and what's going to take the least effort in your to get that done, right? And then once you have your quick wins, assuming that you have 10 ideas in the beginning and then you now have 5 quick wins, you can then go to the next step, which is using weighted scoring and RISE framework to basically then have a much more deeper evaluation in terms of like what needs to be in the quick wins. I'm sorry. I think someone is mute. Okay. So yeah, with the weighted scoring and RISE framework, then you will be able to there's someone, I think we need to mute someone. I'm not sure. Yeah. So yeah, with the weighted scoring and RISE framework, you should be able to define like what is the idea that you'll be focusing on first, and then you will basically clearly have a clear table, so to know that what is going to be coming first, what is going to be coming second, third, fourth, and then last. If you're not still satisfied, okay, like I need more breakdown of the task, then you can go and utilize Moscow method, which is going to be again like you focus on facing. You have less time and less resource. How would you prioritize the idea? And then again, most of the time we use Moscow for task. So ideas would be like a high level thing that I'll be doing. So assuming I'm saying I'm going to be running Facebook ads, right? And then under Facebook ads, I'm going to have multiple tasks, right? So like create content, create images, create those kind of stuff. And then from that, you can define like what is really critical at the moment for you, right? And that will gonna help you. And then once everything is done, obviously you have to take an action and then review this on a startup phase. What I would recommend to do is like a monthly review of your roadmap, because now you should be able to see like what is the one that you have started working on, what is the one that you're doing next, and you can evaluate all your ideas again and again, whatever is the pending ideas. Because again, in a startup world or in an early stage or a small business, it's really critical to be very fast versus your competitor. So evaluate this every month. For a bigger company, I would say quarterly review is really needed, because again, you have to see whether you're doing it, because again, in a big organization, disrupting ideas or disrupting prioritization is going to be very difficult. So it's having a quarterly review for all your roadmap is very critical, rather than just doing it on a monthly basis. But if you're a small business, you have that agility with you. You are able to make decision quickly. So a monthly review for all your ideas is something that you should be doing on a regular basis. All right. Next one. So yeah, so I think I'll just give a quick like case study that we just like did for one of a startup, I think last year. So Yas is a mental health platform that came to us with a lot of ideas that they wanted to implement on their platform, and they wanted to get things done, with very quick time. I think they wanted to have like this website done in 6 months time. To be honest, even like 3 months time, but then we pushed them to 6 months. And then they came obviously with like multiple ideas that they had. They were like struggling that, oh, we want all these ideas to be put it in the product. So it was booking system, secure messaging, AI-driven personalization, recommendation, community support, mood journal, live chat support, and gamification, right? When they came up with these ideas, again, they also had limited resources when it comes to time and money. So we wanted to see how we can help them, just like by going through the impact versus effort exercise. So next slides. So yeah, so I think we did two different applied two frameworks on this one, which is impact versus effort and RISE framework. So based on that criteria, right? So we were able to figure out that the quick wins that is really needed for us is going to be booking system, right? It's going to be the secure messages and live chat support, right? Because again, you are able to get that done completely immediately, because live chat, you already have plugins. Messaging also, you already have plugins. Booking system, you also have plugins most of the time, or it's not very like new features that we are trying to build. It's something that we are known. We know how to do a booking system, so it was not that difficult to get it done. So these were our quick wins that we defined after the exercise. Big bets were AI-driven personalized therapy, right? So obviously, like implementing something like this, it has a high impact, but then also has a huge effort that is needed, right? And same thing goes for community forum. Again, a high impact because you need a lot of ongoing moderation, a lot of like scaling up, because people will start asking a lot of questions. You need more resources in terms of team, right, to manage those things. So that's why it's a big bet. So something that we'll be doing after our quick wins are done, and then next thing is going to be focusing on big bets. The filler came up with was mood tracking. It's again low impact, and again, I would say like low efforts. So it's not something that's really critical for the overall application, but it's something that we can have if we have completed all our major quick wins, big bets, and then we can like see if we want to do fillers or not, right? We can also like sometimes we also pick up fillers for quick wins sometimes, because again, it's very low impact, and big bets might take a lot more time to implement. So if we have time during the quick wins phase, we can probably like chip that in and then get that done also, right? If it is again not taking too much of our time and resources. And the last one was gamification. We realized that again, it doesn't add a value to our users, and it's not something that we want to be doing at all with our with the platform, right? Because gamification is something more like used for engagement. But the first thing that we wanted to launch was the core feature, which is connecting your users with the therapist. That was the most important features that we focused on. And if you see, it's the system is completely like quite aligned with what we were thinking. So that's how it is, right? Again, why this worked, again, it allowed team to focus only on the essential features without getting stuck on unnecessary, features that we want to build. We were able to get if you see like with this also, you get a clear roadmap. What is going to be something that you'll be doing now, next, and in the future. And then last, we were able to get early traction because again, we only focus on the quick wins and not focused on the big one that we wanted to implement. All right. So yeah, again, if you're thinking like which framework you should be using for your company or for your business, again, the best one that I would recommend is going to be impact versus effort, because it gives you a very quick way of like prioritizing your ideas. Like when you have multiple ideas that to focus on, it is best for obviously like quick decisions, small startups, and then small teams. And then again, what is the key benefit is like you are able to focus on the quick wins only, right? And then you can do that exercise every month to then see what comes in the quick wins, and then again take those tasks everything that you want to do. All right. Weighted scoring again, when a team need a bit more structure, prioritization, like I want to add more custom criteria, I want to add UX impact, I want to add something else, you should be going with the weighted scoring. And again, it's a data driven scoring for clarity. The my favorite one when it comes to going after the impact versus effort, right, would be RICE, because again, there's a clear defined criteria that you have to focus on. So this is again used mostly for big companies, growth level like businesses, product teams are using RICE a lot because there are multiple ideas that they're working on at the same time. So it help them see which should be the one that they should be focusing on. And the last, again, the key benefit is it's a quantifying your decision with different metrics, right? It's the reach, it's the impact, the confidence, and the effort that is there. And last is going to be the Moscow, which is mostly used for project management and like feature planning, because you are able to also again use the two criteria, which is you don't have time, you don't have money. So how would you then prioritize your backlog? And then you are able to then only select things which is a must have, and then focus on that first. And then once you finish the must have, you go to should have, the could have, and then won't have. You don't even do those things, right? Again, it just helps you categorize all your essential feature so that you can go to the next build things, which is very important. All right. So yeah, again, if you need any help in terms of prioritization, I'm always available. We also have a workshop coming up next month to help you how to prioritize, and we'll do a small workshop with a very small group. So please connect me on LinkedIn if you want to, if you also like need some support in terms of prioritization your ideas, I'll be able to help support you on that one. And if you connect me on LinkedIn, you should also be able to see the workshop that is going to come up in the future. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have, I mean, again, since we have time, we have one more thing. Yeah.
Oh, yes, you wanted us to do the thing.
Yep.
That's right.
So again, I think again it wasn't like too broad because again we did not go much deeper into each and every framework, but we wanted to just give a quick focus on in terms of like what are the different frameworks that most of the companies are using. So we created like a small quiz, for us to work with so that we can see how it's really important, right? So imagine that you only have 8 hours and you have 10 tasks to complete, and this is going to be more focused on your everyday life, like getting up, turning off, fixing your faucet, taking a shower and those kind of stuff, so that you're able to see like how really important this impact versus effort, framework will be much more helpful for you. So please scan the QR, and then we should be able to get this done in like less than like 5 minutes. All right.
All
So,
right.
so maybe Sky, if you can show the screen for the quiz, that will be helpful. Yeah, perfect.
Fixing a leaky faucet. Is this like gender specific, Like maybe guys might be better at some things or girls might be better at some of these
I mean,
things.
again, it's you only have 8 hours, right? And you have to finish all this tasks. So what you feel is going to take the most effort, and then what's going to be impacting,
Okay.
creating a good impact on your life. And what's something that's like fixing a faucet for me would be like it has no effort needed for me, right? So I can I not effort and no impact in my life. So it's not going to be that much for me, right? So just define like what you feel is important, and then we can see how it can be done.
Should they be the same number or are they different?
Sorry.
Or is it just by the item? Like waking up earlier or organizing your home.
Right. I mean, again, it's on you, right? So if you feel that waking up early has high impact in your life, add that. And what is the effort that you think it's going to take, right? Because some people like me, because I usually work with US client, getting up early becomes a little difficult because I sleep around like 2 or 3 o'clock, working with them. So it's a high effort for me, but also has a high, I would say, impact. So it's a big win for me in this case. Yeah. Big bet, sorry. Yeah. Is everyone able to go to the quiz?
Yeah, I just submitted mine.
All right.
I don't know how long it will take usually for it to populate. Oh, okay.
It's immediately. Yeah. Oh, nice.
So let's see. Fixing a car scratch. High effort for low impact. Yeah, definitely. For me anyway. I had a car scratch once, or actually I backed into in a parking lot because it was dark, accidentally into a pole. And I had the bobo in the back of my car, I think, for almost a year before I took it in to get it fixed. But okay, it would be different if we were in the US, but I think I did take it in when the rainy season started. Because in the US, one of the things that they do is like they put salt on the ground when it's when this starts to snow or freeze. And if you have you know, a bobo in your car, that kind of like it can get into, it can penetrate through the paint and it'll start rusting your vehicle. So you don't want to repair that. It's expensive. So what are your thoughts on this table, Raju?
Yeah, I think I'm just like waiting if it's
Did
done.
ever,
I can see like 5 people have already done it.
yeah, maybe the other 5 are not.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wait for 1 more minute and then I'll summarize the table. Yeah. All right.
I also want to let you guys know, if you haven't seen the chat, if you got any questions, feel free to type in there. Or if you want to open up your camera and ask your question directly, please raise your hand.
All right. So let me try to summarize like what we are seeing right now with the 5 results that we have received. So if you clearly see over here that we have like already got, I mean, again, this is very good result because this is not done by multiple people and not just like one person. But even if you do it by one person, you will also see your different result, like in terms of like where each of this ranking would be staying. So based on the 5 results that we have received, so we clearly know that quick wins for us is going to be less time on social media, eating healthier, and then organizing your home, right? For me, organizing your home is definitely high effort. So it's a big bet for me, but for some reason, for some people, it's like a low effort. So that's very good. And again, your big bets are going to be eating healthier, exercising daily, and I'm assuming that it's wake up early consistently. So that's the third one that I'm seeing. Yep. And then if you see like 8 is somewhere between like lying between like, you know, at the very between. But in this case, I can already say that this is more like less impact and less effort. It's still like high up there, but it's like in that range. So cooking, sorry, planning a family vacation, again, everyone is like confused like where it goes. So it's a very like similar like thing that happens, right? But it's something that's it's a good to have, like a nice to have thing that you'll be doing and not like a must have because it's not very on the right side. It's still very closer to the nice to have like quadrants. And then the last one also it's going to be fixing the leaky faucet. So that's I can already see that that is going at the very right bottom corner. So that's something that it's like you won't be doing in the 8 hours that you have, right? And again, cooking at home, wow, that's also something no one wants to do. And then learning new skills is also something that no one wants to do. And again, it's not no one wants to do thing. It's just like no one wants to do today, right? Because again, since we define the criteria very clearly that you only have 8 hours today to get this done. So we can clearly see that, did I read it wrong? So 10 was fixing your car small. Okay. What did I read? Oh, eating healthy.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
fixing
yeah.
a car is high effort and low impact.
Correct. And so cooking at home and then fixing car is going to be something that you won't be doing right now. So that's very good. So if you see like just by doing a simple exercise on a daily task, you were also able to like see define like what you want to be working today and what you want to be doing next, right? So the first thing that I'll do is I'll focus on the quick wins, right? The second thing is going to be the right side, the top right side, and the next one is going to be left side. And the last one is going to be something that you won't be doing right now, but you might do that in the future, right? Again, won't do doesn't mean that you will not be doing it ever, right? It's just mean that among all the ideas that I have, it's not really important at the moment, right? And that's basically will give you much more clarity in terms of what to do next, and then what to be doing something at the very last. All right. Perfect. So that's all that we have for the quiz. Thanks a lot for participating in the quiz. So now I think we'll take questions. Yeah, if you have any.
Yep. And as I mentioned, up to you if you like to just type your question into the chat, or if you want to raise your hand. I mentioned earlier also we're going to be having the March 4th webinar, and it's going to be about executive branding. So I can see something. No? Okay. And then also we have on the 18th, the entrepreneur exit from startup to sale. And we have our regular friend who comes and visit us regularly, CRV, who has sold his media company, and Susie, who has sold, I believe she's, it's a financial company that she sold. So for more details about these two events, you can check out more information in Event Pop by scanning the QR code or just typing in the event name in Event Pop. Then it should come up. If you have problems, do let us know. You can chat with us through Messenger on our Facebook. Most of the team members are in there somewhere, so someone will see your question and be able to answer you quickly. All right. I got some questions for you. Which one do you use regularly, Raju, for yourself? Just personally.
I think personally, I mean, again, most of the time, as I said, like the first thing that we always use is impact versus effort. But then again, depending on different, criteria or something, I'll choose, what is really needed for that one. So again, as I said, like we had that like a quick takeaway in terms of like when to use what framework. But impact versus effort is something that is very simple to implement, because then it gives you like a clear quick wins that you should be focusing on. So that's something that I personally prefer to start off with. And then once that is done, then we have more, right? I mean, again, for startups, we also use something called as user story mapping, because that helps them to, like see the entire journey, and then see what we can do next in the journey. And then again, prioritize them against like same thing, impact versus effort, so that we know what is the MVP that we should be focusing on.
I remember doing that in your workshop. Like,
yep, that's correct.
Hi there, Dr. Rushika. Did you have?
Hi, Kanoi. Hi, Raju.
Hi, Ruchika.
So, I don't have a question as of now, but then I would like to really appreciate what Raju presented just now. I just want to convey that if I would have known these things when I was starting building Autotex, so I could have done better maybe. So, why didn't I meet Raju then? So, yeah, maybe that leads to a question, Raju. That when you are several co-founders, right? So if you are only one founder, mapping out all these things and actually jotting down and making the quadrants would be really helpful for you to decide. But sometimes when you have more than one founder, uh, like how do you bring everybody on the page, because somebody would find one idea to be more uh, you understand my question?
Yeah, I mean, again, as I said, like if you see right now, the quiz that we did, right, is also like it's not just like from one person, it was from multiple people, right? So in that case, you just have to like like do an average of everyone, right? Again, you may think that the effort is high and impact is low, but someone else might think something else, right? So we also see this when we do something called as user story, user story. So in Agile, we have that user story in terms of like, so someone might say it's a 5, someone might say it's a 10, right? So you just have to understand like from their perspective that what exactly, why exactly they think it's a high effort, right? And then there needs to be a dialogue, right? You can't just like, if you're a single person, for sure, right? It's your best guess, right? and then you're putting it. But having multiple people is actually better when it comes to prioritization, right? Because it's not just like coming from you, it's coming from multiple people, and everyone has their own thoughts, right? Everyone has their own, way of thinking. So having that dialogue is really important. And then the best way would be, again, to do an average. Like you think it's a 5 effort, I think it's a 10 efforts, then, it becomes like 7, right? And then it goes into the quadrant, right? Whether it's going to be here or there, right? And again, this is just like a very quick way to do things, right? In the end, the decision always come from you guys, right? This will just be giving you a visual understanding in terms of like what you should be doing. But then you might just say that I will just do the won't have, because I know that it's something that we have to be doing, right? So in the end, again, but then again, doing that will be wrong, right? But you just have to justify, like, when you're working with, like, assuming like 10 people, right? A team effort, right? Everyone should get that voice, right? And everyone should be able to like position like where exactly these ideas stand. And if this doesn't work, right, I guess, as I said, like, then you go with the RICE framework, right? Because again, RICE remove all that, thinking
Absolutely.
approach, right? And then it gives you that, okay, like we are going to be using some concrete data, whether it's the reach, whether, it's going to be, but then again, whenever you use that 1 to 10 scale, then it's a relative, guessing, right? So if you have like some concrete data, then RICE framework works really well, right? Because then you have actual data of your, your analytics data, and then you use that to map it against your reach, your impact. Confidence and effort is something that, uh, can be a bit of relative, because confidence is like best on your team guess, right? But all the other thing, like impact, is also something that you can say that I only want to focus on revenue as an impact. And then you can then guess that, okay, like if we are able to reach this many users, what is going to be the impact of that particular feature that we are launching, and then go to the next step, then confidence, and then the effort. Effort can be done by your technical team, or same thing, you can just like see whether it's a high effort, low effort, and then use that 1 to 10 scale. Yeah.
Actually, that's what happened. Mostly marketing team and product team, they keep on fighting. Marketing team would come. That's a perpetual
That's
problem.
going to happen. So I think using in that case, again, RICE is going to be much better, because again, since you already have a marketing team, they already have the data, right? And then and if they bring to that product team, it's going to be much more decision making rather than just like guessing work. Yeah.
Of course, data backed is
Yeah.
always. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For some of the people that just recently joined us, if you have questions, feel free to either type it or you can raise your hand to speak with Raju. In the meantime, Sky, maybe you can go back to the table that has the summary of the different types of framework, please. And I also want to, while Sky is doing that, I want to take this opportunity to thank Sky and Ninja and Pim for their, great work and effort in putting together the webinars and talking with our speakers and organizing so many things. Okay, for the people who just joined and you might have not seen the summary, so these were the 4 frameworks that Raju, thank you, Dr. Ujika, talked about: impact versus effort, and then weighted scoring, RICE, and Moscow. But if you want more details, you're welcome to connect with Raju. Raju, can you help us and put your LinkedIn URL into the chat, please? And yeah, so in case, for those who are interested to get the next announcement for your upcoming workshop, yeah? So Raju is going to be hosting something, I believe, like in the next 30 days. I've attended one before, and really helpful in thinking things through, like because it's about the user journey and then what you should prioritize about putting what first. As Dr. Ruchika just mentioned, like sometimes there's, conflicts just within yourself or conflicts amongst the team. So my question to Raju is, what is the biggest mistake that you often see people make when they decide on what to work on next?
I mean, yeah, that's a very good question. I think the biggest mistake that we often see is, again, is adding those, like CEO as a priority, right? Because even though when what we usually always see when I was working in corporate, like in Central, is that we would actually, the product team would use RICE framework, But then in the end, there is always going to be that one additional column that gets added, strategic, column, which basically then it's the external factor that is playing the prioritization, right? And the only reason that happens most of the time is because you don't have the data to back it up, or you don't have like anything to just like do it. But even for like a small I would say businesses, I think the biggest mistake is again is to trying to like up like using your framework and then start applying your own prioritization. So just like define those, I would say, framework first, and then avoid all those noises that's going to come after that. Because again, since you've already defined those criteria, so assuming if you're using weighted scoring, right? And if you have defined like these are going to be the 4 criteria that I'm going to be weighing my ideas against, then just stick with that, right? Don't try to change it. Yes, maybe like review that every quarterly basis, right? But then don't change that on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis, right? Because that's what I've seen most of people, even when they use the prioritization framework, they make mistake because they keep on changing their own criteria, their own thing. And then again, because as soon as your criteria changes, your prioritization changes, right? Here and there, right? And then that becomes more difficult for your team to adjust, for you to adjust, because you're already on the way to achieve something. And then if you keep on changing the criteria, you might change a criteria somewhere that the top priority might just go down at the, and then you're like, oh, like I was wasting my time on something, right? So just stick with your defined criteria and then go with that, whether it's going to be RISE framework, whether it's going to be impact versus this, or whether it's going to be Moscow. Just stick with that one thing and then get that throughout. And then once that is done, then obviously you have the chance to review that on a quarterly basis, and then you can go to the next thing later on. Yeah.
Okay. Something that just came to mind, because you said when you were answering Dr. Richika, and you had mentioned, oh, there's data, right? Coming from the marketing department. What if that was not the case? Then what should you do in that instance?
So again, in those cases, I said like you have to use like some data, right? So what we usually do is that when we don't have data is to use that 1 to 10 scale, right? So that it's more like relative. And again, it's still best, is more like a guesstimate, but you can still like, whenever you say that, okay, like creating something is going to take 10 effort, right? And that's what also we saw when we did the quiz, right? So what is going to be the high effort and what's going to be the low effort, right? And then what I usually do is that I always try to figure out what is the topmost effort in the list, right? Because then that becomes my base, right? So now when I focus on all the other ideas, then I'll see that how does this rank? So if I'm seeing the next one, whether it's a 9, whether it's a 8, it's much more easier, right? Because now I know what is my most 10 effort that's going to take. And then I'm able to like compare all the other ideas against that particular idea. And then I'll be able to say like whether it's a 5, whether it's a 1, whether it's a 8 or 9, depending on that. And then that's basically like once you have those scaling, and again, as Ruchika said, that if you have multiple team members, right? So if you don't have data, then again, do the same thing, but then average them out, right? And then again, discuss this, before you jump on this like impact versus framework, so that they know that, okay, like there is going to be no conflict, that because now we have decided this and this is going to be the average, that becomes much more easier to then justify. But then again, still have a bit of dialogue in terms of like why they feel, it's a high impact, why someone else feel it's a low impact, right? So then that gives you a bit more clarity. And then you can then, as a team, you can then see that, okay, like maybe, yeah, I feel I understand your justification, so I'm going to increase my impact to like medium, right? Instead of like low, I'm going to increase that to medium because that's what I feel, right? So yeah, so doing that exercise again, this is also not just like one person work, it's a teamwork, right? Framework should always be used, to be honest, like with team, right? But then if I have to remove everything from here, I'm just going to keep impact versus effort, because it's very easy. It's just like 1 to 10 scoring, and then you are able to, as a solopreneur, you're able to just like prioritize ideas very quickly. Yeah.
Is there like one of these freebies online where you can kind of like go and plug in instead of creating the Minty that you did? Well, I guess we could use Minty, but is there like the impact versus effort that's kind of like online that you can go and plug and play, and then you can have your team vote?
Menti, I think, because Menti is free. I mean, again, for certain number of quizzes.
Yeah.
So you can still do that because Menti can be used, or again, you can also use Google, right? You can have Google Forms that you can create, right? Google is also able to give a summarization once the survey is completed. So you should also be able to use that if needed. But for me, I think because again, Menti is able to like, automatically pinpoint those, in that particular quadrants. That's why I went with Menti.
Minty. Yeah, because I think Kahoot used to do that too, but now they charge. So last question for me is like, if somebody who's never used a prioritization framework, how should they get started?
Yeah, so impact versus effort is the best way to start because it's a very simple, very easy to understand, and doesn't require that much, data sets, because now you're just using, as I said, like 1 to 10, and then use that as your first thing. Again, the best thing, again, there are many ways to prioritize, but I would say impact versus effort is going to be the most easiest one to use, because all the other one requires a bit of thinking, because you need to, have a different criteria. You need to define those kind of stuff. You have to gather data.
Yeah, yeah.
That might become a bit of difficult for like someone who's starting very early. So using that impact versus effort is going to be the best way to start. Yeah.
Do you feel it is appropriate for both startup and large enterprises?
To be honest, impact versus effort is for everyone. I mean, I've used it in Central. I've used this in small startups because, again, as I said, like it's a very first way to just like see what's going to be the quick wins for us. So it's a framework that I've used in multiple organizations. So I don't think there is going to be any problem using any of this framework anywhere.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much for your time today, and we appreciate it. And for those who also invited others, we're just going to be putting the recording up in Spotify podcast. You can get the link from us if you just like message us either on Facebook or drop us an email. Thanks again, guys, for your time today, and I hope you got a lot out of this webinar. And remember, our next one is on the 4th about executive branding, and on the 18th about the entrepreneur exit. Sawasdee ka.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Sawasdee ka.